Hello everybody, welcome to this class. So this is the class of English of ninth standard. So today we are going to discuss about the lesson, first lesson of the ninth standard, the fun they had. So the author of this lesson, Isaac Asimov. So the author, Isaac Asimov, was a writer of fiction and scientific stories. So as we know about him, so such different types of films were there in Hollywood. I, Robot, and some others. So those pictures were based on his stories. Okay, fictions and scientific stories were there. So they impact on films also. So the fun they had, this is the story of the future generation. Future generation means, so the story we shall read is set in the future. Is set in the future means 2000. This is the story of, this is the story of uh, this year. Okay, 2157. So this is 2020. So think about this. This is the story of 130 years forward from now. Understand? So this is the story is explaining how the future generations school will there, and their education, how children will get the education, and how children will read the books, and where there will not be books, there will not human teachers, and there will be not schools as we now know. Now as we now know, the schools were there, the schools are there, and human teachers are there. We know printed books. But this is the story which is set in the future, where books will not be available, and schools will not be available. So think how fun this lesson will be. Okay, so shall we start this lesson? Yes, we will. So see, before you read the lesson, so the some introduction part is there. See, the story we shall read is set in the future, when books and schools as we now know them will perhaps not exist. How will children study then? The diagram below may give you some ideas. As we said, this is the story is set in the future, when books and schools as we now know will perhaps not exist. Okay, there will be no books, there will be no printed books, and there will be no schools as we now know, and there will be no human teachers. There will be only a robotic teacher. As you looking at this four these four pictures will give you the how the future generations education system will be. Okay, so see, learning through computers, children learning from computer. Okay, then this is the virtual classroom. This is not a real classroom, this is the virtual classroom. This whole class, this whole picturization class is there. Okay, this classroom is created by the computer system, and this is the robotic teacher. Okay, the one program will set to robot, and that will going to teach the children. Okay, so this is the virtual classroom, where this room is in your home. This room is will be in home, and separate room is there wherever it is. In this room the computer system will create the virtual classroom, and children's will look at the computer, and the computer itself to teach to children's. Then it is moving e-text. There will be the moment you heard there will be no printed books. Instead of that moving e-text books are there, e-text book. Okay, the only one screen, but the screens that are moving, still moving. Okay, this is the introduction part of this lesson. So then we are going to read the lesson and understand. So Margie is the main character of this lesson. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. So she is going to write something on the page headed 17th May 2157. So as we know, 2157, the future, this story is set in the future. So now it is there, 2157. This means 130 years forward story from now. So she wrote something. Today, Tommy found a real book. Tommy. Tommy was brother of Maggie. So, uh, who are 13 years old, was 13 years old. So something book found by Tommy. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. So, in that book, it was very old book. It was very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that. Margie's grandfather said that when he was a little boy, that his grandfather's grandfather told him that there was a time when they're all when all stories were printed on paper. So they found a very book. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather's grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. So the Margie and Tommy were used to read the books in with the help of e-text, but here Tommy found a real book, the book with printed version. That is why he's wandering. There are wandering, and it was grandfather's grandfather time when there was a book found. The book belongs to the grandfather's time. Okay, so here when all the stories were printed on paper, the Margie and Tommy used to read the e-text only. Now they found printed books. They suddenly surprised about this. Okay, yes, they turned the pages. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. So the Margie and Tommy were supposed to read a book on a screen, e-text. They turned the pages when the screen will move. The screen will moving text. Okay, now they found a book that a book which were yellow and crinkly. The book is becoming the book was become very yellow because the old book, this is an old book. And crinkly means with many folds and lines, with many folds and lines were there, because it was very old book. That book turned as yellow, and the pages were became crinkly because it is very old book. It is very awful. Awful means funny. Okay, awfully funny to read the words that stood still instead of moving the text. And 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 then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. When they're going to read the book first time, when they turned the page, when they turned the page, there are still some same words. Okay, so when this is not possible in a e-text, when you turn the pages like this, when you turn like this, so the same words were there, the same words were there. This is not possible in e-text, that is why they are saying this. Okay. Gee, said Tommy, what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away. I guess. Our television screen must have had a million books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. Here, Tommy, the moment he heard the book, what a waste, he said. What a waste. When you are through the book, when you supposed to read a book, you just throw it away. You just throw it away. I guess our television screen must have had a million books. A television screen must have had a million books on it, and many books, good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away. So he he refused the system book, printed book. Tommy is very respectful about the computer text screens, because e-text is a very good, and he said that book is a waste. Our television is better than the book, he said. Next, same with mine, said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. So the moment Tommy explained this, there it means Tommy refused book and respectful about the e-text. She's also said, Margie said also, same with mine. She was 11 years old, and he was 13. Tommy is 13 years old, and she hadn't know as many books as him, means Tommy. She said, where did you find it? She said, where did you find it? Because she is very surprised about the book. In my house, he pointed without looking, because he was busy reading in the attic. Here, attic means a space just below the roof, used used as a storeroom. Okay, attic means the storeroom. The attic means supposed to use as a storeroom. He pointed somewhere, looking, because without looking, because he was very busy reader. Okay, busy reader. What's it about school? The book explains about school, how the past schools were there, how the past schools were there. This book is about school. Okay, yes. Margie was scornful. Scornful means contemptuous, showing you think something is a worthless, means unrespectfulness, refusing mind. Margie was becomes very refusing mind. School. What's there to write about school? I hate school. She hates school because robotic teacher taught her the education, and she becomes very hateful about robotic teacher and computer system also. Margie becomes very bored about this education. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. Okay, more than ever, the mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. Margie always hate school. Now she hated more than ever. uh, because what its reason is, the mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, which she the subject is not liked, unlike by Margie geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully. So when a child didn't express wonderful marks in tests, the mothers were commonly becomes very horribly. In the same way, her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. County inspector means machine mechanical. The mechanical teacher is there, means robotic teacher is there. It means his mother. She's mother think that the the fault of mechanical teacher is there. That is why, let's send for the county inspector. County inspector means who who repair the mechanical teacher. County inspector means who repair the mechanical teacher. So he was round little man with a red face and a old box of tools with dials and wires. Okay, he was round little man and with a red face and a old box. He brought a box of tools with dials and wires. There are some wires were there to repair the robotic teacher, and some buttons were there and some wires were there to repair the mechanical teacher, means robotic teacher. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Then he started to repair the robotic teacher. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again. Margie hoped that he wouldn't know he wouldn't know how to put it together again, but he know how all right. And after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. And Margie had hoped the county inspector, wouldn't know how to repair the mechanic and how to put the wires together, but he knew how all right. He knew all the repairing system of robotic teacher. Half an hour with a it means half an hour the machine was become ready. There it was again large. The robotic teacher was large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. County inspector repaired the robotic teacher successfully, and it is started. So Margie explains how large, black, and ugly means very bad. With a big screen, all the lessons were shown and questions were asked, which is unlike to Margie. That wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. There was a separate slot is there in a screen where the homeworks and test paper had to put. She always had to write them out in a punch code. They made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. There is a particular punch code is there. This is a machine code. Code means the language. particular language is there. In that language she had to put homework and test papers through this punch code. And they made the robotic teacher made her learn when she was a 6 years old. 6 years old, when when children's were supposed to do playing, eating, and go to forest, go to outside and enjoy. But here children's were busy in learning through computers. This is becomes very bad for Margie. That is why she hated the school than ever. Okay. And the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. Mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. This is the very hateful part of the mechanical teacher. That is why Margie was Margie hated school than ever. See here, slot a given space, time and position. So no time, the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. With a fraction of a second, he, that means robotic teacher, will calculate the marks in no time of a Margie. Okay. So this is the this is about the this is about this class. So rest of the lesson, we will go we will go to the rest of the lesson in our next class. Okay. Thank you.